Hello, welcome to Financial Insider Weekly. I'm your host, Michael Gray, CPA. My guest today is Greg Carpenter, and Greg is the Managing Director for BTI Group M&A, which means Mergers and Acquisitions, which is a business brokerage firm, and it's located in Campbell, California. He's been a business sale intermediary since 1985. Gee, time flies when you're having fun. The current focus of his business is on the middle market, valued from $5 million to $50 million. He was on the board of directors for the California Association of Business Brokers for 9 years. Greg is a frequent speaker about how to sell a business. He's also an arbitrator for the California State Bar and the Santa Clara County Bar Association. Greg says he has a great home at Incline Village at Lake Tahoe that he doesn't get to use very much. Today, Greg and I are going to talk about buying a business. A few weeks ago we talked about selling a business, but I thought it would be good to look at it from the other side. Related to this is a big topic. You know, Greg could talk to us for days about this stuff. And so just bear in mind that we're just going to hit some highlights, and so it's intended to be the beginning of a continuing conversation that you'll have with your own advisors. Okay, Greg, what are some reasons for buying a business?
Well, some people really just want to chase their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
They have a vision and they want to make it come true. Some are tired of working for the same reward no matter how hard they work, and they'd like to be rewarded in proportion to the value that they create. But the biggest single reason why people want to own a business is to be in control of their life. They don't want to have somebody suddenly tell them, sorry, you're not going to work here next week, and cause a major problem in their life. They like to be in control of what's going on and how they create the income stream that they live on.
Mm-hmm.
Some people buy a business because they want time freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a little bit of a myth depending on the business that you buy.
Yes.
Since you're a CPA and you're involved with a lot of businesses, I'm sure that you know a lot of business owners that thought they were going to have time to go play golf and go sailing and take vacations, but like me, have a nice house at Lake Tahoe and never get to go use it. Isn't that true?
Well, there's some truth to that. There are some things that you can learn to do that can help, and we're not going to get into that today, but a lot of people, they don't understand really what running a business unfortunately is about, and so they try to do too much themselves in many cases.
Yeah, so when we're talking about businesses that individuals buy, we're talking about the impact it has on your family and whether or not they're going to be supportive of you, and whether or not you're really putting them at risk, and a lot of other considerations. If you're involved in the middle market, though, it's more institutional investing, where you might be investing funds from an insurance company or a major public corporation and managing a small fund to go buy companies in this $5 to $100 million range. So there, the reasons for investing are generally to create value through growth. And a typical strategy there is what we call a roll-up. And it involves a little bit of financial engineering in that small businesses tend to sell for low multiples of earnings. Large businesses tend to sell for much higher multiples of earnings. So you can see if you buy a bunch of small businesses at low multiples and put them all together to make one large business, even though the combined sales and profits is the same, the value is much higher than what you paid. So then you can either sell that for a much higher price and thereby bring a nice return for your investors, or if it's big enough, you might even take it public. So the two different markets, two different sets of answers.
And so I guess what the idea is that with a larger business, hopefully you've got more stability, and that's part of the justification for getting this, and also the ability that you can appeal to and get a broader number of investors.
That's right. It's the old risk-reward thing. The less risk, the higher the price will be.
Okay. I'll just mention one that you haven't yet, and part of it was because I went through this experience myself, and that was my daughter and her husband came to me and they said, you know, we want to start a restaurant. And so I talked, first of all, I said, are you sure that you want to do a restaurant? You've chosen one of the hardest ones to do successfully. You know, and many people try and fail. Yes, this is something we really want to do. And I said, well then, what I think is you should not go out and try to start from scratch. You should find a restaurant that basically has the infrastructure together, because basically you're buying speed. You will have everything together. It's not going to take you months just to do, you know, the inside of your place and so forth. And hopefully you'll have some clientele that will continue with your restaurant. So anyway, so that's what they did, and it ended up working out. They've been in business for over 5 years.
Well, that was obviously very good advice.
Yeah.
And restaurants are a good news, bad news story. The good news is there are generally a lot of restaurants that you can buy for pretty low prices because they really don't make any money, and they've failed, and the owner just wants to move on and get out of there. Mm-hmm. So the good news is if you really are a good business person, and if you really have the flair for running a restaurant, you can get into the business and buy that infrastructure, the big expensive kitchen build out, the decorations and the nice location, pretty inexpensively. Mm-hmm. But then the challenge is, can you actually make a go of it like your kids did? Yep. So kudos to them.
Yeah. So another thing, sort of leads into the next question, is that we've had quite a few people that became unemployed because of this, I guess we're calling it the Great Recession, that we've just experienced, and now we hope we're in recovery mode. It's April 19th, by the way, 2011 when we record this. Well, anyway, is buying a business a good solution for these people?
Well, the answer is always got to be conditioned, because everyone isn't suited to own and operate a business. Mm-hmm. And by the way, a lot of those people who are unemployed used to be self-employed too. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of failed businesses from the recession as well.
Yes.
So if you're going to succeed as a small business owner, you really have to have the right mindset. You have to be totally committed to it. You can't just say, oh, I think I'll try this and see if it works, because that's a guaranteed recipe for failure. Mm-hmm. You have to be ready to make decisions quickly and stick to your guns, and you have to have a whole skill set that ranges far beyond the skills of an employee kind of situation. Employees tend to be specialists in one narrow skill, but entrepreneurs have to have a broad range of skills, and they have to be pretty good at a lot of them. An example of the mindset I would give you would be Silicon Valley is full of engineers.
Yes.
The engineering mindset requires extreme focus, extreme attention to detail, and especially in design, making sure that you've covered 100% of every detail exactly to optimize it before you go into production. Mm-hmm. That mindset will cause a small business owner to fail, because timeliness is much more important than accuracy in small business. You have to make decisions quickly. You have to make decisions based on partial information and approximations. You don't have the luxury of waiting around to get that last little bit of information and make sure everything is correct, because by the time you make a decision using the engineering mindset, it's no longer even relevant. You've missed the opportunity. It's gone. Mm-hmm. And perhaps it's even ended up costing you a lot of money.
Right. So, but there is a couple of things related to this, and that is, one, what you were saying, sometimes in a business, good enough is good enough, and the speed is more important than getting the very, and not only that, the feedback that you'll get from your customers will actually help you to get the better product in the long run, even beyond what you would have done if you had tried to cover that last detail. The other, though, is that there's a difference between doing the thing that a business does. So, for example, being a CPA, you know, knowing accounting, being able to prepare a tax return, or if knowing how to cut a pet's hair. Okay, there's a difference between that skill and to run the business. the business involves a range of things, and that's why we have business schools, but even the business schools, frankly, they don't do a very good job, I don't think, of getting the message across about really what it takes to be an entrepreneur. There are some entrepreneurial programs that probably are quite good. So, I'm not trying to knock about it, I'm just trying to let you know, just because you've graduated from business school doesn't mean you're ready to go either.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, but you need to know something about marketing. You need to know salesmanship. And the personality for running a business requires being a salesperson. And we were talking about an engineer. A lot of these are very introverted people. And so for them to just go out and do this thing, is very difficult for them.
Yeah, the classic example actually would be what your kids did.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that because they can cook and they're really good and their friends and family rave about their cooking, they think they should be able to run a restaurant. And they forget all those other skills that you just mentioned.
Yes.
The marketing skills, the sales skills, even the bookkeeping and accounting, the ability to keep control of all your materials.
Yes.
If you can't control that, sure, you can have a restaurant full of happy people eating wonderful food and be losing money like crazy.
That's right.
Because you aren't able to control your costs.
Yeah, you may have costs that are exceeding the amount that you're
And
receiving.
don't forget the employees. The biggest complaint from small business people is managing employees.
Right, and there are different management things. So planning, organizing, implementing, controlling, that's a traditional management, but also the human resources piece, managing problems with employees, keeping track of what the legal requirements are, and so forth. It is tough to be a business person.
The biggest challenge really, though, is managing yourself.
Well,
because I've seen so many people that think that when they own their own business, they'll be able to sleep late and then schlep around the house in their robe drinking coffee and reading the paper or watching TV until about 10:30 or 11, drift into business and make sure everything's okay, then go to lunch.
That's the sales job that they get. It's how I made $5,000 a day, in my underwear.
Exactly.
And it's a sales job, but the fact is that is not really what it takes when you're running a successful business. It is demanding. And so you have to recognize this and be willing to deal with that and pay that price.
Well said.
Now, there's one other thing, and that is, and again, this is something that a lot of people are having trouble with, collecting receivables. So you have to have a certain personality where you can go up to somebody and look them in the face and say, you need to pay me. Or how do you do it in a friendly way? Because frankly, what I found is the people that I've had trouble collecting money from have actually become some of my best clients because I was able to do it in a friendly way and be direct with them. And so again, these people became great clients for me.
Yeah, I agree. So often people who are employees tend to become quite congenial with all their colleagues, and they would never want to confront them about anything or be really direct with them about anything because they want them to be their friend.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't work when you're trying to collect.
Right. So there's a point on here that I want to say, and I stole this from somebody else, but anyway, I just thought it was really a great thing for people in mind when they're thinking of, I'm just going to go out and start a business. It's that many business owners discover that they're a lousy boss and that they have a lousy employee themselves.
Exactly.
And so you can't just sit around and drink coffee and read the morning paper. You've got to get out there and produce in order to make this thing work. Okay, how about, let's move on. Compare buying a franchise with buying an independent business.